Hey Aries, going to do your energy check-in for the period of the Capricorn new moon and surrounding dates. I know I'm kind of late to the game on this, but this reading should cover around the following week, and all my readings are timeless, really, though, so whenever you happen upon this video in some distant future and a new moon in Capricorn, years from now, then that's when this reading was meant for you. So meanwhile, welcome to my new setup. I'm trying something different. Sitting on the floor is comfortable to a point, but I was starting to get to a point where my foot would fall asleep all the time, or my hip would fall asleep. So, and this is a bit brighter too, I think. I don't know, might go back and forth, we'll see. But I was inspired today. That's that Mars entering my sign this week, so things sort of, okay. So Aries, let's get on with your reading. I'm also going to approach the reading a little differently, a little academically at first, and then we'll get into the interpretation. You'll see what I mean in a minute. For Aries. Aries, okay. So your signifier for this reading is going to be the Three of Cups. It's a card of celebration. It's a card of it's group energy, reunions, rejoicing. It's reconciliations. It's yeah, but it's group energy and celebrations by and large. What's crossing you though is the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords is a bit of a deceptive energy. It's mental energy that is self-serving. Sort of an everyman for himself energy. Deception though is, and shady behavior, shady thoughts, shady intentions really comes to mind for that card. The root of you though is Six of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles is a card of reciprocity, a card of charity, a card of give and take. It is sometimes being in the position to give charity, and other times being in the position where you must receive charity. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I may edit that out. So, as I was saying, Six of Pentacles is a card of equal give and take at the same time. It's earth signs. And then and of balance too, lest I forget. Which is kind of covered in equal give and take, isn't it? In your recent past, you've got the Six of Swords, and it's in the reverse. In the upright, it means moving away from choppy waters to seek out peace or find peace of mind. But in the reversed, it can mean a return to a situation that once was negative or choppy, or and now you're coming back to see it through again. This is in the recent past though, but it's this coming and going energy. In reverse, I think it's a return from having moved away previously. In what crowns you is the King of Swords in reverse. This is King of Swords in the upright is mental clarity and supreme mental clarity and communication and just really sharp wit, sharp mind. In the reverse, it's needing communication, perhaps. And and needing further clarification, needing to get, so it just came into my head, needing to get wise about something is the crowning energy here. It's such a weird phrase, I've never used it before. But yeah, air energy. So it could be one of the air signs representing. Yeah. So there's a bit of a lack of clarity, a lack of communication, perhaps not having all of the answers right now. In your immediate future as a Hierophant, however, so you're going to learn something. The Hierophant is a card of practice, of learning, of tradition, of religiosity, so doing something religiously, practice something religiously, not just spiritual matters. A lot of times spiritual matters because it is the Hierophant, but it can also mean anything that you practice regularly enough to call it religiously. Again, tradition, institution, it can represent church, it can represent university, it can represent something that's kind of corporate minded. But largely a card of practice in your near future. Well, that one to pop out like crazy in the signifying you is the Nine of Cups, which is really lovely. It's wish fulfillment, it's satiation, it's a sense of having earned something, worked hard at something and earned it, being proud of oneself for having earned all of these lovely cups, and feeling a sense of emotional fulfillment. In your environs, oh, there's counterpart, Queen of Swords in the reverse. Very interesting that both of these things are in the reverse. So, same idea, similar idea as the King of Swords in reverse, but the Queen of Swords is also, it's in your environment now. It's also a sense of the need for clear communication, the need for some thought, some clear thought, knowledge, need for knowledge about something, and that's in your environment too. So evidently there's a little bit of the Swords energy is bringing up a little bit of a breakdown in communication, and with the Queen of Swords, it could be a person specifically who is not being straightforward with you. In the upright, this person doesn't suffer fools gladly, and she is very cutting with her word, very sharp with her wit and her mind and her intellect. She doesn't mean to be mean, but she's also not going to mince words. In the reverse, however, she can be mean. She can be a little too cutting also. So perhaps that's somebody that speaks to somebody in some of your environments. This is a general reading, so it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. But it is, there's a counterpart on the table here. I'd be remiss to not mention, remiss to fail to mention, is my favorite new phrase. So this might be a counterpart in your environment that may ring for some of you, kind of like a double trouble, like partners in crime. You are worried about being left out in the cold. There's Five of Pentacles in reverse though, and there's a sense of alienation in your hopes and fears, or you feel, you hope that you won't be left out in the cold here. So this, getting this interesting group activity for a lot of you. It's kind of, oh, your outcome is the World. And the World represents completion of a cycle, kind of going through the birthing canal. It also represents our fixed signs. Represented here on the card is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. Those are our fixed signs. So it may have to do in summation with one of those signs. But the World largely means coming to the end of a really big cycle. And it's, whenever we end a cycle, we begin again. Such is the way of life. And as your outcome, it seems that you're going to get closure on something here that's sort of percolating in some group activity. So let's get into this. I'll clarify that last card further when we get there, but let's do a little bit of interpretation, Aries. Aries, so once again, it seems that you are dealing with a group activity, or maybe it's your workplace, maybe it's your home life. It's going to be a little different for everybody, but really at the core, it is a joyous environment. It's on the upright, and this is it's cups energy, so it's very loving energy typically. But crossing you is this deceptive energy. So whether this is something that's going on in your mind, that like the feeling that suddenly you have to think selfishly, or this is a little bit of fear that perhaps for some of you that you may have to take matters into your own hands. But this is again like a sort of, I would say watch out. If this is you personally, I would say watch out for that, because, and maybe consider it again, it doesn't denote the most purest of intentions here, and it might be a little overly selfish. For others of you, it's going to talk about somebody in your midst presenting a suspicious energy that feels deceptive or questionable, suspect, a little sense of distrust, shadiness, and that's the crossing energy, which is unfortunate in this lovely group energy. So something's in the midst, and getting away with something too is the energy of this card. So this is the energy that's crossing this, this group situation. At the root of you is this, again, this core feeling of give and take and reciprocity. And perhaps there was a little bit of charity given or taken that's caused a little disruption because there wasn't a lot of clarity on the terms of that agreement or the terms of that sharing. But the energy of this card is, largely positive in terms of having an idea of balance and understanding that, there's a time and place for both of these things in each of our lives. We understand that life is cycles, and sometimes we may be in need, and sometimes we may be in the position where we can assist other people. It's lovely energy. But at the root here, it suggests that that this is the root of your situation, where the balance may be the thing that is in question, or a topic of discussion, or the reason why energy's shifted here, because what's crowding you, remember, is this sort of lack of communication on a pretty grand scale. And you have this King of Swords wanting to be clear and clean with his word, but something didn't happen. Something broke down, and there might be, because it's what crowns you and what you aspire to, it might be that you want to cut out this energy of, of fallen communication. Certainly, it's certainly what is creating this energy. And usually isn't that the way? Basically, when there's a lack of communication, people start to fill in the blanks, and oftentimes those blanks are filled in with ideas and thoughts that are fear-based, because we worry about, unfortunately, we become very self-conscious when there's missing information, and we sort of a lot of us anyway, can assume the worst when it comes to people, when it comes to what we think other people think of us, unfortunately, that can happen. It happens all the time, right? And so that communication breakdown can start people sort of conspiring to, I don't know, do something that feels like that they need to get away with something that's theirs, that they feel is theirs, or get away with something they need. And so let's let's clean this up, right? In the recent past, again, there's this return, this idea that, you know, you walked away from something before because it got choppy, and again, it's swords energy, so it was all in the head, it was all this sort of like mental turmoil, and again, likely has to do with the breakdown in communication, and yet in the recent past, it's something that you return to like maybe give it another go. For some of you, the storyline is going to be group energy and a place like your business or some, you know, group that you were attending on either a hobby or extracurricular basis, or something that you're trying to get off the ground project wise. For others of you, it is going to talk about a relationship, because what I see here too is this can also mean third party, and certainly with this card, it could mean that what you had to move away from is something that didn't feel like you were getting the attention that you thought the relationship deserved. So for some of you, this might, if it's a love reading, it's something that you walked away from and came back to again, and have a sense or a suspicion that this is going on again, where there's a little bit of deception in a little bit of deception in how, or, you know, largely based on the idea that there's a breakdown in communication around the terms of the relationship from the beginning. So that's going to define all the situations. That's basically what's happening in this reading here. Breakdown in communication that it has to do with a misunderstanding about the terms of these relationships, you know, whether it's a group or one-on-one. That's the basic idea here. The near future has the Hierophant going for it, and that's, you know, it is a card of, you know, well, it can be a card of marriage. It could be a card of resolution in this case, especially in that there may be a moderator or a mediator that's needed to get involved. You know, pointing this out with the Hierophant, he's presiding over two followers, you know, two, what's the word? I'm not going to get it right now, it doesn't matter. But two people. and so in a way, it could be said that he may be sermonizing, but it could also be mediating between two people. I really see that heavily here, especially in this reading. For the first time I've ever looking at this card, do I see somebody who's mediating, who's behaving as a mediator between two parties. So that may be a necessary step for some of you. You might be going through a divorce, marriage counseling, couples counseling. And for others of you, it's going to be that the institution, you know, if it's this group activity or it's a professional environment, the institution is going to come down on the behalf of the betterment and the clarification of the group. And so if it's work, you know, it might be HR getting involved, you know, sort of a little HR official. If it's not professional per se, if it's more of like a group gathering space, it's just, you know, if it's a class you take, it might be your instructor coming in to shake things out and bring understanding, or just again being a mediating element between all parties who are involved in this sort of kerfluffle, this mental kerfluffle that's leading to so much miscommunication that, you know, really at the end of the day, it really, I do think, I will say this, like, I do think that the energies up in the head are really blown out of proportion for the most part. I don't really see anything here that points to, I mean, this is kind of, this is a bummer, I'm not gonna lie, because it's sort of reactive energy and defensive, and I don't love that anybody would deal with their issues this way, which is to go to a fear-based reaction that leads to deception, that leads to selfish behaviors, which definitively mean that other people might get hurt or suffer loss of some sort, you know, because he's leaving with all the swords, and you know, they didn't initially belong to him. So so such is the vibe. There's a loser in that scenario, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's this guy, right? Yeah. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's a bummer that, but for the most part, it's up in the head stuff. It's you know, if there's forgiveness, this is, you know, can be a card of forgiveness and apologies, as can this card be. So that energy is definitely on the table here. It's just going to take some talking. It's going to take some talking. It may take somebody mediating over the situation. Mediating, is that the verb? No. Your energy is beautiful though, so there's that. Aries, you've got this really great sense of pride. You've earned something. You've really worked for something, and you've achieved something, and that's what the energy that you're standing in right now, which is great. So, right. I mean, be protective over what this group or what this relationship energy could do to this. You know, whatever is happening for you, you are feeling you're feeling pretty good. You're feeling like this isn't really affecting you in a large way. It's, you know, for some of you, it could be said that you're a little glib in the situation, you're a little, you know, perhaps overly prideful, and maybe that makes you a bit stubborn, because on second glance, this person sitting here, he's with his arms crossed, and it's a stance that is very prideful, but it's also very stubborn to me. It's reading very stubborn to me right now, in a way that, you know, this card usually signifies just like happiness, satiety, good luck, things well earned, but there's a little stubborn energy in this as well. And so perhaps, you know, one thing that you can be proud of your achievements and recognize your skill and the things that you've done, but if you are hearing criticism, those things don't change. Those things don't get taken away from you, but maybe understand how you hear criticism is the advice and the feeling I'm getting right now. Is sort of like, see how you can be like water and bend. This is that energy too. Because in your environment, it's air, swords energy. Again, it's, you know, people are being really shut off. So here's the thing. If this is your environment, everybody else, like, no one's going anywhere. It kind of is up to you, because you're the one who can be like water. You're in the cups energy of water and having great access to your emotion. The nines are very personal, like, you know, internal personal achievement. And so if you can kind of know thyself in this situation, because unfortunately it looks like everyone else is, or the person or the people you're involved with, they're going to be a bit cutting, a bit mean, a bit reactive with their word, and a bit rigid, you know, a little razor sharp. And so you're the one who can affect the change here in this situation, can kind of take the high road, you know. In your hopes and fears is, again, this idea of being alienated, and one way or the other, that can go both ways of, you know, if you don't say something, you know, this situation can play out where it's alienating. If you do say something, you might offend somebody and be alienated. So it's sort of perhaps this bit of a feedback loop that's in your mind about how this can become resolved. But, you know, looked at another way, for others of you, it's just that you want an end to this feeling of isolation, and you want access back into the group or the energy that like these two people are feeling left out in the cold from this beautiful place of practice or church. Again, there's a reflection of a place of practice, and you just want back in. You just want to come back in, and you know it's there beyond the, you know, the window pane there. And so that being your hopes and fears, it sort of says to me that the situation could change things irrevocably to a situation that was really lovely and celebratory to you before and meant a lot. that's just disrupted by this negative energy for some reason. Bummer. It's feeling really specific, so my volume's very small right now, so I guess that makes sense. But right, again, for some of you, it's going to talk about a particular relationship, and others of you is going to talk and feeling alienated from that, and for these of you, it is still that group or business or whatever that establishment is. And the outcome is the world. This will come to pass. This is going to play out. This cycle is going to go through the birthing canal. And what the world says, it's a major arcana. This is sort of something that had to happen, because I think that certainly as evidenced by this card, you all have been here before. You, the people involved, the person involved, whatever your situation is and whatever the dynamics are there, you've been here before. You all, have tried to return and come back and try again. And it's happening again because the cycle didn't finish out correctly, the right way. I don't know if that's exactly the way to say it, but things weren't addressed. And here you are butting up against probably the same things that are not being communicated and not being ironed out. And so this process that you're in right now is requiring that they do get handled. And it's going to be by some outside help and mediation, and and perhaps even your individual yourself being, taking the high road and being like water and being a little bit more giving and and it's not giving in. It isn't. You don't give up anything. You don't lose when you become this energy. You are more adaptive, and you just let people know that you see them and you can afford it. You can afford it. That's what this card talks about, because you have the level of achievement and nobility and all of the stuff behind it, whereas maybe these people don't feel like they can afford to sacrifice or give in. Sometimes you just gotta let people have one, if you know what I mean. It's or give a dog a bone, or is that I don't know. It's if you see a situation for what it is, the truth of the matter, and you're like, oh, I get it. They just feel like self-conscious about this, or they feel like they're not being served in this way. And maybe you still have something that is not being addressed for yourself, but by all evidence, you can afford to do without for now, at least, So in order for this to move forward and reach completion and get people talking again, because these swords being upside down, this queen and this king, means that people aren't really talking, or when they do, they're being really cutting and mean and spiky with their word. So we got to turn them around. That's what we have to do. And that's what this energy, your generosity of spirit is going to offer this situation and change everything, so that you don't have to feel, like there's going to be an end to like whatever this amazing space is, whether again it's a one-on-one relationship or a group relationship. And finally, because the outcome is the world, it is going to come to an end. By doing so, you stand to transform the situation really greatly, and let it go through the birthing canal. And and come out all fresh and clean and new, like a newborn baby. Ooh, you got 4, meant to get 3. Hey, you know what? Because it looks great. Okay, so you got the Hanged Man, you got the 5 of Wands in reverse, you got the Ace of Wands in the upright, and the freaking 10 of Cups in the upright. So happiness, which is a couple things. So it's gonna take your patience. You're going to have to look at things from a different perspective. I said basically that, when we talked about you being like water here. You have to look at things from a different perspective, and it's the outcome supporting, your outcome of the world. And so it means that you will, because you're back, you're awesome. And then the 5 of Wands in reverse is the end of conflict. So because, being able to see the end of this being able to see another perspective on this is going to begin to immediately alleviate the sense of conflict, because people will start to talk again. And now the Swords energy is all turned into Wands energy, and you all can begin again anew. Now the Swords turn into Wands. It softens a little bit. It takes root. It becomes like a new inspired idea of how things can move forward, and it becomes the 10 of Cups. I mean, and it doesn't get much better than that, really. And it also means, as your outcome, you graduate from the 9 to the 10 of Cups here, don't you, in your outcome? And it's and in graduating, it's not just happiness for your own self, but your whole community, gets to share in that happiness, or that sense of achievement, and that sense of pride. And because you allowed them, you became generous with your spirit and allowed them to come along with you. You elevate the group in this way. You elevate the other person in your relationship, because you can afford to offer some of your heart in order to mend the situation. It takes a little bit of help and guidance, but you win. You totally win in this situation, and in your win is everybody's win. It's really, really beautiful, Aries. I'm going to leave it here for you. If that reading resonated with you, please do hit the thumbs up button, hit like, and do subscribe. Leave your comment below. I really love to hear from you, and I hope to see you at the next one. In the meantime, I'm sending you my love and light. Thanks, Aries.